Hello, all dear subscribers and guests of the channel. I try very hard for you to learn more interesting things from our world. About this will not tell in the school and the government. Please appreciate my work. Please do not forget to subscribe, and like that, more people would see the truth. I will be glad to try for you. Enjoy the view. Respectfully find out. Traces of giants on Earth. Descriptions of giants can be found not only in the legends of Australia, Belgium, Chad, Chile, China, England, France, Germany, Greece, Holland, India, Italy, Kazakhstan, Laos, Safian, Netherlands, Nova Scotia, Pakistan, Philippines, Poland, Rwanda, Russia, Scotland, Sicily, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Wales, Zanzibar, but also in the historical chronicles of the 19th century, which often report findings in various parts of the world of skeletons of people of abnormally tall stature. In 1821, in the U.S. state of Tennessee found the ruins of an ancient stone wall, and under it two human skeletons 215 centimeters tall. In Wisconsin, during the construction of a granary in 1879, enormous vertebrae and skull bones of incredible thickness and size were found, as evidenced by the note in the newspaper. It must be said that this photo is one of the few authentic ones compared to the amount of fakes and outright falsifications that are circulating around the web and that you have probably seen, where the truth and the lie are sometimes hard to distinguish. Photoshop is not difficult to use, and the result can be very believable. However, even before the invention of this wonderful program, fakes of this kind had been sculpted enough, as if someone set out to deliberately make them in order to expose them on occasion. A simple trick of concealing information which is now widely used and which allows the recipient to take a servile and unobtrusive and usually anonymously presented half-lie as the truth, and after the exposure. On this basis, to completely discredit the truth in general and even calling it a fashionable word for Caucasian, which has become a label. To cure the recipient in this way by abandoning the carrot, to ridicule him by making him a patient so that he does not stutter again. The material artifacts left by the true man, Nam Luwu, Ulu as the Sumerians called him, are few, but they are there. Archaeologists regularly dig up huge bones and skulls. I read a curious story illustrated with photographs and documents about archaeologists burying in the ground giant human bones they have just unearthed. Apparently, in archaeology too, there are unofficials, and someone of high-ranking colleagues can always say, "Get out of the profession." A crisis of the genre, however, everybody wants to eat. 15 or 20 years ago, I read an article with the following epigraph, "And people will wonder at huge bones of our ancestors." In it, among other things, 20 meters high human skeleton was mentioned, which is kept in Vatican. It was brought back from America by the Spaniards who thought they had found Adam's remains. There were pictures of it. Started looking around the web, couldn't find anything worthy of a reference. There are mentions, yes, but always with an addition, like allegedly, but hardly anyone would doubt that there are many skeletons in Vatican closets. The missionaries who accompanied the conquistadors sent a lot of stuff to Rome. Most of the messages and manuscripts written during their activities in the Americas have become closed literature X-files, and the artifacts still have not come into the possession of historians and scholars. Perhaps there is some good reason. Access to the Vatican vaults is closed to the uninitiated laity. Although historians nowadays are such that they do not write about what once was but fantasy history, what they pay for, that's what they write. There's a lot of indirect information that some of the archaeological research centers began to hide the information about the ancient peoples and finds it. Skull caps, of course, is not the most important. More interesting are the artifacts mined along the way and the knowledge possessed by those who became skullcaps. In general, as they write, if anything is known to such research groups as the Chicago Society, there is nothing to catch the world community there anymore. It should be noted that not only the bones of the true man are destroyed and buried, but even the sculptures of giants, if they are not particularly known to the world community. For example, 180 kilometers from Victoria's on the Pacific coast of Guatemala in the 50s, a giant statue was found buried in the ground with uncharacteristic features of the local population. The picture ended up in the local press, and there was even a visit from a scientist at the time. But attempts to photograph the sculpture 50 years later were unsuccessful. Researchers were just waiting for a pile of rubble, explained by the fact that the revolutionaries destroyed it. Why did the revolutionaries need it? The statue had been standing for who knows how long. It had grown into the ground, and nobody bothered it or even saw it somewhere in the jungle of Guatemala. Revolutionaries came, cutting down vines and blew it up. Oh, those revolutionaries. By the way, the further into antiquity we go, the more astonishing is the gigantomania of our ancestors. Who needed it? What kind of pleasure to carve granite with flint axes? And whether it is possible in general. The precision of processing 800-ton blocks of Baalbek is such that there are no gaps between them, and the surfaces are perfectly flat. Historians who are towerless claim they were hand-sawed with copper saws. On the other hand, what else can you say? That it was impossible to do then and very difficult now. Well, here are those stones, feel them. Do you believe that the stones themselves came and were put there by magic? A well-developed technology is indistinguishable from magic, and magic is a well-developed technology. Know-how, that is, unlike those who do not know. There, 20 kilometers from Baalbek Veranda in a quarry is a granite block of 25 meters, long and weighing 1,000 tons. For comparison, a standard freight car carries 60 tons of cargo. Let's notice that the ruins of the Roman temple, built on this ancient foundation, are made of relatively modest stones. It is the same in Egypt. The more ancient a structure is, the heavier the building material, and the more perfect it is in processing, and the larger the size of the buildings. We can only state that the prehistoric construction technologies of the period called prehistoric are sharply different and much more perfect than the later ones. The degradation is well traced in the example of Egypt. Transportation and processing of multi-ton slabs, of which the miraculously preserved structures are composed, was a common practice in ancient times. A number of Cyclopean structures tell us that they may have been fit for their builders. It is written that at Karnak, in one of the many halls of the palace, now a ruin, and having 140 columns, the Cathedral of Our Lady of Paris could have fit freely without reaching the ceiling. All peoples have had legends of giants which have come down to us in one form or another. Giants and titans, of course, with their height must have had a corresponding lifespan. In the Greeks, the titans who inhabited the earth had to fight with the gods. The giants, Viatogor, Usinia, Dobrynia, and Gorinia of our ancestors. In Russian Byeliny, unlike some other nations, relations with the giants were peaceful and even friendly. The Ossetian epos Tales of the Narts tells about the struggle of the Narts with the giants. They were called the Uagi. They were called the Uagi. In the mythologies of the American peoples, the giants were the forerunners of those who created the first civilization. The Aztecs believed that the earth was inhabited by giants at the time of the first sun. They called the ancient people Kaimane, believing that they had erected giant pyramids. Images of giants and legends about them can be found in ancient Cambodia and China, where the clay tablets claim that the priests of Babylon got their knowledge from the giant men who escaped the catastrophe, meaning the flood, of course. A few people do not know about the Egyptian giants. Their statues can be seen even now. And the gods, Seth and his sons, for example. Question: have you ever stopped to think how, by means of, at best, copper instruments, it is possible to transform a 200-ton block of granite into a sculpture polished to luster? In 1718, the French academic Henrion constructed a mathematical table based on studies of ancient measures and data from the Bible, thus tracing the evolution of human height. According to his calculations, Adam was about 40 m tall. Degeneration was already evident in the time of Noah, who was 33.37 m tall. The further on, the worse. Abraham, only 9 m. Moses, 4 m. His conclusions are paradoxical. Mankind would have degenerated to the size of mice if not for the coming of the Messiah. Dear friends and guests of the channel, here the first part of our fascinating video material has come to an end. The second part of the video about the giants of our unknown history will be released in the next video. I look forward to your attention, as I'm trying very hard and looking for only the best information possible. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, and give me your likes. This will be the best reward for me and the best motivation, and that this work for you is interesting. With my best wishes, good luck and truth to everyone.